Sierra Sil's Hurricanes Watch is brought to you by Sierra Sil, found online at sierrasil.com.
This week on Sierra Sil Hurricanes Watch, we move above the ice to sit down with the voice of the team, Pat Sidliecki.
Well, I've been in broadcasting for going on 18 years now. I grew up in Saskatchewan, went to high school there in a small town called Foam Lake, which is about an hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes northeast of Regina. And I went to school there, grew up there, went to radio college in Saskatoon, got my first job on Vancouver Island, moved there in 1997, and lived there for 10 years. Until I got an opportunity to come here and work with the Lethbridge Hurricanes and be the news director at CJOC Radio.
And then they'll play a couple of more games here in Lethbridge before they actually hit the road for a couple of games.
It's an extremely busy life. You know, I guess during the course of the day, get up in the morning, kind of get my mind set, take a look at rosters. There's lots of memorizing that you have to do as a play-by-play guy, and over the course of a season you get to know certain players, their names, their tendencies, how they play. So there's a lot of learning that you have to do in order to get yourself kind of set in that mind frame to do the job.
Canes coming into action tonight with just 2 wins in 15 games. They have just 1 win on home ice, but on the reverse side of that,
here I have Fred Jack, who's with me at the NMAC Center, but when I'm on the road, I'm a one-man show. So you have to really, you know, fill 3 hours of talk radio essentially by yourselves.
As Fred and I talked about in the pregame show tonight, it just seems like all these teams that are coming out from the East, when they're going down to the U.S. division.
You know what, there's a few memories that I have, and that's, you know, back when I first got here actually in 2007, when the Hurricanes made this magical run to the league final. They lost in 4 games to Spokane, but I think for a play-by-play guy, that's one of the coolest things, is that when you're doing this level of hockey and you're able to see some kids develop, and you know someday they're going to be in the NHL, like Luka Zabiza, for instance, who was here for a few seasons. To see him now playing in Anaheim the way he is, being kind of a stalwart on the back end for the Ducks, it's great to see, and just to say that you got to know that person and now you see them flourishing in the NHL.
Seeing himself flourish in this job is actually the way he dreamed of it as a young man.
I remember when I was about 14 years old, 13 years old, and I used to sit there and play video games on my Sega Genesis. And what I would do is I would memorize all the numbers of the players on all the NHL teams, and I would sit there and play video games, and I would call the game. And a buddy of mine said, you know what, you should be a play-by-play guy. You should be a radio guy. I kind of thought about it and thought, you know, maybe that's a good idea. And I'm actually doing what I said I was going to do when I graduated from high school, which is pretty awesome.
2-1 on the Swift Current Broncos. Stand by. The second period face-off is coming up next.
If I have any advice for people, it's just, you know, bide your time. It's very seldom are you going to come right out of radio school and you're going to jump into the Western Hockey League. You may have to take a job, you know, doing Junior A in the Alberta League or the Saskatchewan League or something like that to get yourself known, so to speak. And then once you kind of pay your dues, then you can move up the ladder like I think in any other job.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Twitter at DaveDawson7 or at Shaw TV Left.
Sierra Sil's Hurricanes Watch is brought to you by Sierra Sil, found online at sierrasil.com.